This episode of The Havery Show is being brought to you by Heartland Tax and Accounting, 863-385-5020. The following program has been rated G and is suitable for all audiences.
When the trumpet of the Lord shall sound, and time shall be no more, and the morning breaks eternal, bright and fair. When the saved of earth shall gather over on the other shore, and the roll is called up yonder, I'll be there.
With us today on The Havery Show, we have one of Sebring's most iconic, most well-loved, and well-respected couples, hands down. Founders of Bible Fellowship Church in 1973.
Yes.
And have been an unbelievably impactful couple to more people than you could even imagine over the course of their ministry here in Sebring and over the course of their lives in Sebring. Two of my own personal favorite people on planet Earth, bar none, Yetta and Eugene Bengtson. Welcome aboard.
Glad to be here. Glad to do this.
It's always a pleasure to see you, and I really appreciate you taking the time to chat for a little while.
We're going to enjoy it.
I want to know about growing up in Sebring. You're both, well, you're from Pennsylvania. So when did you come to Sebring?
I was 13.
You were 13. Okay.
In 8th grade.
Uh-huh. That's at the old school.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And Dad came to be the pastor at the Church of the Brethren here in Sebring.
Yes. 13 years old from Pennsylvania. Now, did you come from a small town in Pennsylvania? Yes. Was it similar to Sebring?
No. Sebring was a big town.
Really?
Yes.
Compared to what you were, so what was the town that you're from?
Well, it was sort of country.
Yeah.
But there was Claysburg, that was the town, but I lived in the country.
Okay. So you went from being country mouse to city mouse.
I did.
And Sebring would have been for you anyway.
It seemed big, yeah.
Wow. What year would that have been?
That was
roughly
about 57, 58.
Yeah.
Did your family move here for a specific reason, or was it just time for a change?
Dad just got called to this church.
Okay, so
to be the pastor
in the Church of the Brethren. Mm-hmm. Are you liable to be just picked up and moved at any given time?
No, it's your choice.
It is your choice.
It's your choice.
Okay, and so he chose to pick up the family, and off you come.
Yeah, we were in his home church, the church he grew up in Upper Clore, Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody heard him preach, and then he was called to Florida.
Mm-hmm.
We were excited. I remember coming around Lake Jackson. I thought it was the most beautiful thing I had ever seen.
Well, it really is still.
Yes, it is beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
But it was late evening, and we could not find a restaurant that was open.
Oh, I'm sure.
We had to eat I think we ate in the Sebring Hotel.
Yeah. The Sebring Hotel. What a beautiful, beautiful place, and what a great loss for downtown when it came down. Now, I understand, the Palms being put up was a wonderful thing for so many families and a very needed thing.
Yeah.
But boy, I sure hated to see that old hotel come down.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about your family. How many kids were in your family?
There are three kids. Mm-hmm. I'm the oldest. My brother is 6 years younger than me. He went to high school here, played football. But when he was a junior, I think they moved again. And then I have a younger sister, 11 years younger than me, that was just 2 years old when we moved here.
And they're both still with us? They're both still alive?
Yes. My brother lives in Pennsylvania near where we came from. That's where my dad's people were. Mm-hmm. But my sister, we moved a lot. And we were in South Bend, Indiana, and my sister has stayed in South Bend, Indiana.
There's a Indian, Native American connection somehow with you. It's very fascinating to me.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
This is something I'm very proud of. My parents got married and went to northern Arizona to teach in a Paiute Indian school on a Paiute Indian reservation.
Wow.
And they did that for several years. And that's where I was actually, Utah is on my birth certificate, but that's just a hospital.
Okay.
We actually lived in northern Indiana, or northern Arizona, near Flagstaff,
Okay.
on the Paiute reservation.
When I think about reservations, the only ones that I've been through on travels have been really at or below the poverty line, and not the kinds of places that you would expect that we would put our Native American brothers and sisters in. And I was very sad at the places that I went. Was it like that then too?
It wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad. They raised cattle. They had cattle. They were ranchers. Now, Yetta was a Paiute.
Really?
Yes.
So you were named after?
I was named after. She helped my mother in the school and in the kitchen. And my mother loved her very much. And I got her name, and I am proud of that name. I knew her. I talked to her. I wrote letters to her. She was killed in an automobile accident.
Really?
Yeah. Quite a while ago.
I knew once, I've heard the story before, and I was shocked to know that Yetta was an Indian name, because to me it sounds like a very Southern, even Appalachian type name.
It's not an Indian.
Wow. So it's not an Indian name.
No.
Oh,
You'll find this interesting.
The intrigue continues.
Go ahead.
Apparently there was a Jewish young resident kind of doctor man that came to live work on the reservation. And when Yetta was born, her mother was looking for a name, and I don't know if it was his mother or his grandmother was Yetta. So who was the man that came to the church that told me my name was not a Paiute? I've always thought my name was a Paiute name. And this Jewish pastor came to Bible Fellowship Church. And when he heard my name, he had a fit because somebody he loved very much was named Yetta. And I said, but it's a Paiute name. That is not a Paiute name.
You're named after a Paiute Indian woman who was named after a Jewish woman.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And that's great.
And what does it mean?
What does it mean?
Busybody.
Busybody,
Really?
I think.
That's outstanding. Wow. You know what? That we were talking before we hit record and started recording this. We were talking about the importance of names and how so often they're reflective of the person.
Yeah.
I've never known you to be a busybody.
Well,
I've always known you to be a very respectful, mind your own business kind of person. Now, maybe that's outside the family. I don't know. Maybe you're a busybody.
But I like to know. I like to know the whole story.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Wow. Wow. So, yeah. So moving into Sebring in the 50s, going to Sebring High School, and you met this guy. This guy, Eugene. Was he your first boyfriend?
No.
Oh.
oh no, I had to wait in line.
So, really? So who was Eugene waiting in line behind?
Lots of guys.
You were in the singing group. Was it the Bluebirds?
No, I
You were
was
not
in the band.
You were in the band.
Yeah, it's called the Blue Notes.
The Blue Notes. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. And was
Or Mr. Gustat. Mr.
Yes.
Paul Gustat.
Yes,
But
the
tell
senior.
Harry Havery where we met.
We met in Sunday school in the Church of the Brethren.
Oh, very nice.
This very handsome man walked in there in a white suit. I can still remember.
Mm-hmm.
and he looked good. But I think as I look back, I think this very handsome man was the only Christian young man that I knew.
Mm-hmm.
And somewhere in the back of my heart and mind, I knew I needed to marry somebody that believed in the Lord Jesus Christ.
Mm-hmm. And that happened to be this guy.
But we became very good friends.
Yes.
And we would sit and talk, and he would try to give me wisdom. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I took it, sometimes I didn't. But then later on in our senior year, he showed interest in another girl, and I couldn't stand it. And my friend, one of my best friends said, "Well, why do you care?" I said, "I don't know. I do. I don't like him with that other girl." And so that's when we got together.
This episode of The Havery Show is being brought to you by Heartland Tax and Accounting, 863-385-5020.
So that's your side of the story. Eugene, can you tell me about this beautiful young woman that was at Sebring High School?
Well, we were 13 years of age when we met, and I wasn't particularly enthralled with her at the point. It seemed like she's 13 going through puberty, or so was I. What do I know?
Sure.
But I just was not attracted to her. I thought she was pretty silly. Most 13-year-old girls are. So was I. But I wasn't particularly interested at the time. And when we hit about 15, I became more interested. And but different fellows from the high school, and some of them in classes ahead of us, were dating some of the younger girls, and she was dating different ones. I don't know if she snuck out or what, but she had several fellows interested in her, and I didn't have any transportation, didn't have any money to speak of, and felt like I was kind of a poor guy, so I didn't date, and somewhat intimidated by the thought anyway. But I love girls and love guys, and I had a great time with people. But she began to look pretty nice to me, and we went to the same youth group and did things together as a group. And I wasn't in the dating scene, but I only had I only took one girl out once, another girl out twice, and then Yetta. But I took the second girl out twice because she was dating other guys, but we were building a friendship. After Sunday night after church, I'd go over to her house and we'd sit and chat on the front porch or the front steps, and she'd tell me what's going on in her life with the other guys and whatever. So I'm waiting for her to get to the other guys, leave the scene. But in the meantime, I thought I'd date this one girl and that maybe it would wake her up toward me. That was an actual plan.
Really? Did that poor other girl know that she was part of a plan?
No.
Oh.
No, she didn't.
Oh, Eugene.
Well.
Oh. Oh, no.
Well, it worked. And Yetta did see that, and she became jealous.
Yeah.
And so when I found out that she no longer had a heart for these other guys and this one particular guy, good guy, nice guy, then I asked her out.
Yeah.
And then we went from there. We started dating really at football season. And, you're a senior in football season and going to all these activities, whatever. It was a great time living here. And so we began to date, and then basketball season. And we began to get closer and closer, and the Lord led her to a school in South Carolina, and then ultimately to a nursing school. I had given her my class ring. She had given me her class ring. I went to school in Tennessee. That was really tough to be apart for 4 years. I wouldn't recommend that to anybody. But and then we'd see each other from time to time. She'd come over to Virginia, Tennessee, where I was. I'd go to Virginia, where she was, and we'd see each other at the holidays here in Sebring. So we kept our relationship, and we'd write and correspond and call on telephone. And we graduated I graduated in June of 65. She graduated later, 6 weeks later, in Virginia. But we were married in 65 by her father before they moved to the Indian reservation. So
Another Indian.
Gotcha.
yeah, another Navajo Indian reservation. So he was pastoring our church, and we decided to get married before they were moving away from the Sebring Church of the Brethren and to the Navajo Indians of New Mexico. And so we were married July 10th, 1965. And as God has given us the courage and the strength and the growth process, we've been married this summer 60 years.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's been a journey, and we're still growing together, and we're still making efforts to really surrender our hearts to each other and to the Lord. And we'll probably have 25 of us up in Blue Ridge this summer celebrating this time. Our 4 daughters have planned it all out, Airbnb, food. I mean, they're incredible.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
What a great celebration of a legacy and a marriage well lived. You were dating the pastor's daughter.
I was.
Like me, you grew up in a home where there really wasn't a central father figure for periods of time.
Yes.
And there were men coming and going.
Yeah.
And that's a difficult life for a young man.
Yeah.
And you don't understand how difficult it is until you're grown.
Yeah.
Did Yetta's father play a big role in you deciding your career path and your vocation?
Yeah. It was huge at that point. I think the career path unknown to me began about 3 doors down at the Girl Scout house.
Yes.
The little log cabin that's now gone, and there's another building there honoring military, I think. And I was only 7, and some ladies from the First Baptist in Sebring had a children's Bible program, whatever. My mother got me there. When my mother told the Lord in Minnesota, "Get me out of this hellhole, and I'll live for you." She was promiscuous at that time, married at that time, so on. She really meant it, and her life really began to change when she got to Sebring. Her grandparents were here. My mother grew up here part-time early on in her school years, and she come back to where it was safe. And so I was at that little children's meeting as a result of her getting me there, and it's the way she raised all of her children. And so it was there that the Whitaker family that was well known in Sebring at the time. Jamie Lee Whitaker was a young woman, and she gave the simple good news about the Lord Jesus. And I prayed as a little boy to trust the Lord as my Savior. And that was the beginning, which people began to watch the Lord work in my life, knowing as adults what was going on. I didn't know. I was just trying to get through life like any kid would, without a real father's touch and love and encouragement and teaching skills, none of that. So when I got before I began to date the pastor's daughter, I was already loving her parents or in love with her parents. I'd go down there and eat lunch after church on Sunday noon because her mother was a great cook. Her dad was an athlete, as I am, and we'd go to games together, softball games. We'd play over here, play over there. We'd play the Seminole Indians, or we'd play the APCI prisoners, softball, and so on. So I loved athletics and watching him and just following him around, so to speak. And I'd be down at his house washing his car, shining his shoes for church on Sunday, just anything to be near the family.
This is maybe a tough question, maybe an inappropriate question even. Is there any way possible that your parents just saw this neighborhood kid who had family problems and a lack of a father figure, and they just said, "We're going to take this young man under our wing and kind of make him ours"? Was there a conscious effort to do that by your parents, do you think, or do you think it was just...
I don't think so. They liked him, but I think they knew more of his background than I did and than he did. and maybe they, I don't know.
He just loved the youth.
He
I don't think, I agree with her. I don't think it was him seeing me as a boy that needed mentoring.
Okay.
I think because I was attached, and he had various what he would call his boys. I mean, when he was pastoring, there was always some, he loved the youth.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the youth were attached to him. Others in our youth group was, boys and girls, because we've talked about Dorothy Hollenberg for one. She just loved Pastor. She called him Pastor. She just loved him. But I was attached to him not knowing that I was looking for a father figure.
Mm-hmm.
But Pastor Wyant, George Douglas, and Harry Hummel were all men that I gravitated to because I watched them with their wives and their children. And there was something pleasant and settling about these men, although they all had their issues, especially George. But George was still one of my favorites. I admired him greatly. And he had 4 daughters. And so, I was looking for a father figure unknown to me.
Yes.
But I was looking at men that were going to show me something that I didn't see at home.
It's interesting because that was my path, but it happened to me at a later age. Now, I gravitated towards Coach Tavernier
Sure.
and Mr. Patterson and whatnot.
Sure.
But I wasn't subconsciously looking for a father figure at that time. Right. That didn't happen to me until the full impact of not having a father at the house hit me much later in my 20s.
Okay.
And in my 30s.
Sure.
And that is when I transferred that over to you.
Okay.
And started looking to you
Okay.
as a father figure.
Yeah.
And Reinhold to an extent.
Sure.
Reinhold more of an uncle, but you more of a father.
Sure.
And something, I don't know if you remember this or not,
Yes.
but you sensed it.
Yeah.
And you called me into your office.
Yeah.
And you said, I can't be this for you.
Yes.
You're going to have to look to God for this.
Yes.
Because I can't be this.
Yes.
And
I added, let me add one other thing. I said, I can't be your father, but I'll be the best thing I can to
yes,
you.
you did.
You accepted that.
I did.
And that was, for me, that was a blessing.
Yeah.
That made us probably actually closer.
Absolutely it did.
Because you understood, or you gave me understanding at that point, and I was telling you the best I could do.
Yes, and I respected you for that because you laid the cards out on the table.
Yeah.
And there was no wondering at that point.
Yeah.
And I knew. And it's better to know.
Yeah.
It just is.
Yeah.
And then I didn't put you under any pressure
Yes.
to live up to something that guess what? You would never have been able to live up to.
No. You got it. And we have a relationship today
That's right.
that I will not let go of.
Yeah. And you didn't.
Period. I haven't.
You didn't. When so many people, so many people who I thought were my brothers ditched me when me and Dawn got the divorce.
Yeah.
And just left me high and dry. You never did.
No.
And I love you for that, and I appreciate you for that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's appreciated. Yeah. I'm never going to.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, you've proven yourself over and over. I'm grateful.
This episode of The Havery Show is being brought to you by Heartland Tax and Accounting, 863-385-5020.
You mentioned Professor Gustat. Who are some other teachers that come to mind? Either one of you, both of you, take your turns, whatever. But who are some other teachers from Sebring High School or sooner that came to mind?
Mrs. Titus, also Belcher, Mrs.
She taught us typing.
Yeah,
Business.
I appreciated her.
Those big metal clunky typewriters with the ding.
She was all business, but at the same time, and there were some people. Oh, you know somebody that I appreciate that not too many people appreciate? That was Coach Odom.
Oh, yeah.
Coach Odom was sensitive. When I needed a friend, he came, took me aside. And I know he was a big, bad, gruff guy, but he had a heart.
Yes.
And I appreciated it.
The Bull of the Ridge had a heart.
Yeah, he did.
Who would have known?
He did.
Yeah, that's you know what? And of all the stories I've heard about him, I've never heard that side of him before.
Mm-hmm.
I always knew he was a kind man and a generous man, a good man, but I never heard that side. That's nice to know.
Yeah.
Anybody else come to mind?
Oh, I liked Tavernier as a teacher.
Oh, sure.
He was a good teacher. He put the information on the table in a way that I could understand it, and then you were successful because you got it. And you let's see.
Was Coach Freeland teaching, or was he in administration already at that time?
He was teaching PE then,
Okay.
but I didn't have him much. But
Those were the big three.
oh, Miss Sando, we had Miss Sando just for a year. She was a good teacher.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why she left us, but it's like she taught us our class. And then she left. I don't know. She was an excellent teacher, I think.
She was very much in charge, but she'd go to ball games on Friday nights with us.
Yeah.
She'd let her hair down. I mean, in the classroom, you ain't getting away with anything. I got your number. She did. She had everybody's number. And the worst guys, she had their number. She could stare them down. That was it. They deflated. It was great.
That's great.
It
Was she a young teacher or an older teacher?
She wasn't older. She was kind of
Middle-aged.
middle-aged, but she was single. I'd probably been married before. I don't know, but she definitely was in the driver's seat. And she knew who put the snake in her drawer or whatever. I mean, you didn't get away with anything. You got away with nothing in her class.
So along those lines, the snake in the drawer, did you do any pranks? Did you ever do any of that kind of stuff?
I could think of doing it. I could mastermind it, but I never had the guts to do it.
Yeah,
I've done a few different ones, not so much in school, but since I'm an older adult with some friends of mine.
Yeah, that's great. Well, yeah, it was fun working with you because I saw that side of you.
Yeah. He would think it up
Yeah.
and tell you to do it.
We have a mutual friend who's gone now named Rodney Hollinger.
Yes.
And Rodney did some interesting pranks.
Yeah, I believe that.
He told me once about how he went out, I think it was behind Thriftway. I'm not positive. It was Thriftway or Quick Check, one or the other, but they used to just throw the meat, out in the dumpster and
Yeah.
garbage men would come.
Yeah.
But he got a hold of a cow tongue and stuck it in a teacher's drawer. And he said he was amazed at how big
Yeah.
Yeah.
cow tongue is.
I've got some older pranks just things that happen, and I should have helped the guy out. He was rolled over in the ditch in a creek. We were at Blue Ridge, Mike Rafferty.
Oh, yeah.
We were at Blue Ridge. He's helping me do some work around the house up there in Blue Ridge, Georgia, at our cabin. And so we walked down to the river, and just things out in the creek. The creek road flows into the river at that place. And we're coming up, and he steps on the bank. The bank gives way. And I watched him. It's like he did this Olympic move. He rolled over and landed in the creek in the bushes. You had to look down to find out where he was to see him. And he says, well, he's laying on his side. I said, wait a minute, I got to get my phone out and take a picture. So I got my phone out, then took a picture of him and left him there and walked up. And I didn't help him out.
Oh, wow.
He hasn't forgiven me.
Well, that sounds right. That sounds about right.
We had fun.
Oh, yeah. Do the Hollers, Howler, do they still have your old cabin?
They did. They bought it, and they did.
It's an Airbnb.
It is.
Yeah.
Really? So it's rentable?
Oh yeah, it's there. It's they did some internal decorating, which really looks nice. Put air in it,
Yeah.
heat, and didn't change a lot of the furniture or anything. Just
Good.
added things around the walls, and it's nice.
When my family was young, my kids were young.
Yeah,
We were on Dawn's teacher salary
yeah,
and my music salary,
Yeah.
which wasn't a lot.
right.
And we needed to get away
Sure.
for any number of reasons.
Yeah.
And you guys offered that cabin to us
Okay.
at an unbelievably, ridiculously low price. And I loved that you did that and didn't just say, just take it. I loved that you helped us with it. It made us feel like we weren't a welfare case.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And wow.
That's Harrison. That's one of his favorite places.
One of all of us, we all love that place.
Harrison tells me, I go in the basement, I love the smell down there.
It had its own smell. and
It still smells that way.
it reminded me of my Auntie Pat's basement
Okay.
in New York. And if you don't get to be in basements very often, then you don't get to enjoy that. I loved it. But that place was magic for my family.
That's great.
And we put those kids when they were
great.
little,
Yeah.
put them in little life vests and took them down those rapids.
Oh my.
And I'm telling you, from being babies, they loved that
That's
place.
great.
Yeah, and then we finally just got to a point where they were teenagers,
Yeah.
and they had friends that wanted to go.
Okay.
And so we went over to Ron and Pearl's place, the Toccoa
Oh, yeah,
Pearl.
sure,
And
sure.
we had more room to
right.
spread out there.
That's right. Yeah.
But man, we would go up there and we would have ours plus, Patrick and Devin
Okay,
Fox
that's
and
right.
Robbie Wilkes and
That's
a
right.
whole cast of characters would come along with us.
That's right.
And oh my word, what a
Great place.
fun time.
Oh.
Harrison had glasses. Now,
Yeah.
this is interesting. We didn't know he needed glasses, but we went on a church field trip with BFC. We went to a Rays game and took a bunch of people with us. We used to
Okay.
do that.
Okay.
I don't know if you remember, but
Yes.
it was maybe once a year we would go to a Rays game. And we were out in the outfield, and it wasn't nosebleed, but
Sure.
and Harrison's he's enjoying it, but he's not really engaged in it.
Yeah.
And I think it was Jamie Bustamante said, "Hey, put these on." I gave him his glasses, and Harrison
Aw.
he had no idea that
Yeah.
he had a vision issue until Jamie put those glasses on him. Well, of course, the next day we went and got him checked out and got him glasses.
Yeah.
So he wore those glasses for a long time.
Yeah.
And we tried him on contacts.
Yeah.
And it when you're young and trying to put your fingers in your eyes and all that, he couldn't do it. But we were at Blue Ridge
Yeah.
and we're in Toccoa Pearl and we're floating down. We might have been at your place, but we were floating down in the tubes.
Yeah.
Harrison's glasses fell off.
Okay.
Lost them.
Oh.
Couldn't see. And this was maybe day one of our vacation. So we found an optometrist and there was no way for him to get glasses, but they had contacts. And so this was it. This is it, Harrison. If you want to be able to see for the rest of the vacation, and Jordan showed him how to do it.
Oh.
Because Jordan wore him.
Okay. Okay.
So those two things,
Uh-huh.
being at the ball game as a church venture, and then being at your place, it's just really those little minor details
Yeah.
are special to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the mugs, the coffee mugs.
Oh, yeah.
They're not there. They took the coffee mugs away.
That kind of hurts.
But we took them down when we moved.
Remember the one with the roach in it?
Yep. I certainly.
I still have that one.
That's a good one. Oh yes. And we had puzzles.
Yeah.
And I think we ended up being able to get one or two of those puzzles back, and there's dates on the back of the times that we were there.
Okay. Wow.
We kept a record of it. It was wonderful. CM Ducks,
MR not ducks.
OSMR, CM Wangs,
Yeah.
LIB, yes, MR Ducks. Oh,
I found that at an art festival. I bought it.
that's great.
Because that is Southern talk, but you got to really know
That's
that.
right.
To know that and I've had I had my little kids, my little grandkids.
Oh, yeah.
Come on, read that for me. They couldn't figure it out.
That's great.
I loved it.
Oh, yeah. What a special place.
Yes.
Thank you guys for sharing that with my family when we needed it.
Thank the Lord
We
for it.
appreciate
It was a God thing. Believe
Blessing
thing.
to us.
Just getting that house was a God thing.
Yeah.
So there's a story of God's blessing and grace about so many things in our life. That's what I want people to see in that book. It's not about Eugene Bengtson. It's about God responding to us when we trust Him.
Sure. Going back to school, do you have any favorite teachers?
I have to agree with you. I can remember almost all my teachers because I loved school, I loved people, and I love to know about them. And I love to engage people. But Miss Titus, I had her in the 7th and 8th grade for math. She was a single, well, she had been married, but her husband had passed, and she was sharp math teacher. She would read the book of Heidi to us at the beginning of class. So that kind of endured her to us. And she, and then when it was time to work, it was all business. It was fun, play, and then it was all business. And for some reason, I wanted to do the best for her. I wanted her to do the best. I wanted to do the best for her. One thing that endears me, plus that, is the fact she said to me one day, "You need to go to college." What's college? I'm an 8th grader. There's nobody in my house that's ever gone to college. I had nobody. Stepdad, mom, nobody went to college. And I didn't know about college. What do you do to college? What do you do? She said, "You need to go to college." And she said, "I would encourage you to put a little nest egg away." Now, I had a paper route at the time. But being the family we were, 10 kids, his, hers, and ours, there was no really cash money available. So I had to work. I began to work when I was 10, selling avocados up and down Eucalyptus Street, 10 cents a piece, these big monster ones. So that was my first, plus raking yards for my grandpa for a quarter, whatever. We'd go to the picture show on Saturday afternoon for 10 cents, So work became very, very important to me, and making money became important to me to buy a shirt or to buy my lunch or whatever. She said, "You need to start putting a nest egg away." Well, that sounds good. But, everything went to survive in those days. I used to bring over to this building that we're sitting in, Mr. Koza owned. To go to the fair down here, we could get in on student day free, but I needed at least $1, and I'd find 50 Coke bottles, sell them for 2 cents a piece, turn them in. I'd have $1. I could buy cotton candy for 10 cents, and I could buy rides for 10 cents. So that $1 went a long way. But those were the days. So Miss Titus was teaching us about money. She made us read the stock markets, and I knew nothing about stock market, and I don't know a whole lot about them now, but I do more now than I did then. But she was trying to help us in those days. We'd bring a newspaper to class to read the stock market, read it out. That went by me because I didn't get all that. But she said, "You need to go to college." That stuck with me. And I began to move toward my senior year. God, what do you want me to do with my life? Where do I go? What do I do? How do I do it? What do you want me to do? Where do I go to college? And that was a huge overnight decision, because my church had about 6 colleges. One was in Virginia. And I visited up there, but it didn't suit me where I was going spiritually anyway. It was a church school, but it didn't suit me. So I was out with one of our friends one evening, and her dad lived on the street over from here. His name was Pastor Llewellyn. And Sally said, "Why don't you go to Bryan College?" I said, "I don't know Bryan College." She said, "Well, come home and talk to my dad." So I went home and talked to his dad. I knew nothing about Bryan College. It was a 4-year Christian liberal arts school where you don't major in Bible, but you have to take Bible. You major in whatever's available. And so he says, "How are your grades?" I said, "Pretty good." The next morning, I had a scholarship to Bryan College. Next morning, the pay was going to give me more of a scholarship than I was going at my church school. The motto of the school was "Christ above all." That appealed to me, and it wasn't a big school. It was. I didn't go to a large high school. Sebring High School wasn't big at the time, and it suited me perfectly. And Yetta would say that it was life-changing for me, and for our marriage, and for where we went since then. It led me to Dallas Seminary, and then ultimately to the ministry. And so Miss Titus, and
She put the seed in.
And she was a believer in the Lord. And I have people that I want to see in heaven that I would like to talk with and just say thank you for what you did. And I had a fourth grade teacher like that as well. I'll just mention her real quickly. Her name was Miss Beach. I think she was single, and I think I can't prove this, never found out, never asked, because I was only 9 years old at the time. I think she was a missionary home on furlough. She would talk about Africa a lot. I didn't know why. She put scripture on, this isn't Sebring, this is over in Sebring School. She put Bible verses on the board and had us memorize them. Wow. Then she would take a wall like this and cover it with paper so that you could draw. And we drew animals, African animals, giraffes, elephants. And I think she had a gift for art. She taught me how to do art. She taught me how to draw and color. And she said, I want you to, there's a statewide art contest put out by the Association for the Blind. I want the class to do that. I wasn't going to do it because if I can't be really good at something, I don't want to try it. She said, no, I want you to do it. So I drew a little boy, eat good food for good eyes, eating a carrot, because carrots, vitamin A, good for your eyes. I drew that picture. I colored it. She helped me. We won first prize in the state of Florida.
How about that?
$25. $25? Are you
That's
kidding
a lot of money.
Are you kidding me? And I go up in front of the whole class, not the whole class, the whole school. I received this $25. I bought my first watch, and I think I may have bought that ukulele there.
Oh, yes.
A little tenor, And so Miss Beach, I want to see her and tell her how much I appreciate her.
Fantastic.
Anyway, that's some of the teachers.
There'll be a lot of people looking you guys up too up there and telling you thank you.
This episode of The Havery Show is being brought to you by Heartland Tax and Accounting, 863-385-5020.
Did you go to college?
I went to Bob Jones University for 1 year,
Yes.
but I always wanted to be a nurse.
Yeah.
So then I went to nursing school in Lynchburg, Virginia for 3 years.
Yeah. And did you nurse for a while?
Yes.
Oh, yeah?
Did you nurse here in Sebring at all? Or were you,
Yes.
Okay. Where about?
I almost helped open Highlands Regional.
Really?
Yeah.
Were you at
It
Walker
was-
Memorial before that?
No, I came right from school
Okay.
and went to Highlands.
I got you.
And it had been opened for just a little while, but I worked there until we went to seminary.
Yeah. Our oldest daughter was born in Sebring.
Yes.
At Highlands Regional.
Carrie.
Carrie, and Carrie's about the same age.
She's
you were?
56, 57.
She was born in 67.
That's the same here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That means you're 58.
I'm going to be 58 at a date to be announced later. What I've been asking this question to a lot of people, and so far I haven't gotten an answer that I thought I would. What do you remember about Tuscaloosa?
Oh, I can tell you. Go ahead.
I can just remember walking through there.
So looking at that area now, where the city government building, the city hall is that where Tuscaloosa was?
Absolutely.
It's in that area.
Yes. Oh, yeah. And where the tennis courts are.
Okay.
And where the parking lot behind the city hall is. That was all Tuscaloosa. Of course, Tuscaloosa is a Seminole
Yes.
word. I forget what it means. But there was a softball field there.
Okay.
And there were...
Was there a gazebo of some sort that had almost like a Asian kind of?
Well, I don't remember that. I think there was more like a pole barn or something like that there. And we
There were some seats, elevated. What do you call those elevators?
Bleachers.
Bleachers. A small bleacher.
Well, they were at the softball field.
Okay.
Right at the softball.
Now, where the softball field would have been behind. So
Oh, you know where the Nazarene Church is
Yes.
and where the tennis courts are.
Yes.
Or if you walk, you go to the tennis courts area. That was home plate.
Okay.
And then we hit the ball toward
faced
Commerce.
that way. So
Yes,
the
it did.
road behind there was still there. There were still houses along there, but
Yeah.
that block,
Yeah.
that whole block
Yeah.
was Tuscaloosa, and
Yeah.
the ball field faced.
If you were a left-handed batter, and you were at the plate and you hit it over the fence, it would go not in Terra Morris's, but more south of Terra Morris's.
Gotcha.
Those houses along there.
So even a bit of
It
an
was,
angle.
yeah, it was at an angle.
Gotcha. So that was before tennis courts on either. No tennis courts anywhere.
That's correct.
No basketball court at that.
That's
point.
correct.
Okay. And the tennis courts came in. I remember they had that kind of observation deck area on the tennis courts right behind City Hall. It was made out of metal.
I can't remember.
It was cool. We used to climb on there and
Okay,
shoot
okay.
each other with cops and robbers and whatnot.
Where the parking lot is behind the City Hall was left field.
Okay. Okay. Yes.
Yeah, and then center field more toward the church, Southside Baptist.
Okay.
And then right field would be over, not at Morrison's, but down.
So if you really hit it hard, you might would you have been able to put it in the street?
Yes.
Roll? You would have
Yeah.
been able to. Okay.
Yeah, I pitched a little bit. I was a sub pitcher, and Gary Lanier, big boy, and I'm this short guy. And I could put it across the plate, but he just knocked it over the fence.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Do you you know where the Bridge Club is now?
Yes.
Do you remember where that originally was?
The Bridge Club?
Yeah.
No.
That was the social hall for St. Catherine's.
Oh.
They moved it.
That
As I
was
recall.
Social Hall.
Now that was when St. Catherine's had the little wooden church on Hickory.
Okay.
So if you go down Hickory Street towards Lakeview, where the where the social hall
okay.
is
Mhm.
now, then there's a parking lot.
Yeah.
The little wooden building was in that parking lot.
Okay.
And then Father Grogan and then Father Ruiz built the Spanish-style church that's there now.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
And the rectory was next door.
Okay.
If you're facing the little wooden church, the rectory would have been to the left,
Okay.
and the social hall across the street.
Wow.
I've got pictures of my family in there from years and years ago.
Mm,
Yeah.
Yeah, not many people remember that one.
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
What are if you could go back just for a day to any era of your life, to just you can't relive it, but you can watch it from afar, to just take it in and soak it in. Is there an era of your lives that just stands out as just so special? You get one day. You get one day, 24
Just
hours.
the first thing that came to my mind right before we moved to Sebring, my dad was in his home church, and so we were with family, a real family, blood family.
Mm-hmm.
That only lasted for about 3 years. But when you said that, I sort of went back to Upper Clore,
Okay.
where I was with family. Right now, my family is his family.
Sure.
They've become my family. But that was sort of a secure place to be for those few years.
Yeah.
That's a tough question for me. I think it would be the early days of rearing our 4 daughters when they were little. I love our daughters. They're just special, and they're like jewels to me. I cherish them. And I would go back, I think, and observe them and the times we had, whether it was playing in the water or learning how to shoot a basketball, or maybe doing Christmas. One of the great things we did in the evenings when Yetta left nursing for a while to raise the babies, and as they grew up, went to elementary school, whatever, in the evening she would always have a meal ready for us. So there was family time, which is so important to me. And we'd sit around the table, 4 girls, Yetta and I, and we would talk about each other. We'd talk about the day. So I'd say to them, now, girls, tell me one thing you like about Susan. We'd go around the table. One thing you like about Gary. Instead of being negative, we would look at some of the positive things of life that we did that day or whatever. And then I'd like to go back and observe those things, but not be involved in them. I would like to go back and see what I was doing or what I could do better or what I should have done or whatever. But to cherish the moments we did have. I think that would be a blessing to me.
Yeah. Along those lines, and I believe more than ever that everything does happen for a reason and that there's a plan and a purpose. I do believe that. But having said that, any regrets along the way?
Sure.
What comes to mind?
Sure. I have them.
Yeah. When I was in nursing school, I walked away from the Lord, and some things happened that should not have happened, and I regret that. The Lord has forgiven me, but I regret that. I wish that had never happened.
Yeah.
For me, I'm a male, and I didn't see in my growing up days a male father relating to his daughters or very well to his sons, if you want to look at that. I had a stepfather, which was hard for me to relate to. And one of the regrets that I have, not understanding females who are loaded with estrogen and I'm loaded with testosterone, how do I handle little girls? How do I relate to them as a father? And I regret that I didn't show them a lot of grace, just a lot of loving grace. They weren't bad girls; they were great girls. But I was pretty strict, and at times. But I wanted the best for them. But my strictness, in my mind, was probably too much. So I didn't show them the grace that I wish I had. And I would do that different now as a more mature man. But grace is an issue.
I agree with that, and I think I was maybe too hard on my kids too. They turned out fantastic.
They're good.
The results are there, but yeah, I wish I had been more gentle.
Yeah.
Over in the little house next door, 618 South Commerce Avenue, it wasn't for long, but at one time there was Chris Havery, Jimmy Havery, Shirley Asciuto, Vinny Asciuto, Peter Asciuto, Charlie Danick, Mark Havery, and me. That was the pecking order.
Goodness.
That's 9, right?
8.
8. Okay.
Chris, Jimmy, that's 8.
Yeah.
What's your pecking order? Tell me your siblings and tell me the order and tell me their name.
Not mentioning
this is impressive.
Not mentioning my Minnesota siblings, which is another story.
Yes.
We'll start with the Bengtson Holtons. So there was Dean or Deanie.
Yes.
6 years older than me. There was Georgia Lee, 4 years older than me. There was Eugene. Then there was Barbara, 2 years younger than me. Then Floyd Holton, who married my mother, brought 3 of his kids, Janet, Johnny, and Juanita. Janet was the same age as Barbara, my blood sister. Then you had Juanita, who was 3 years younger than me. Then you had Johnny, who was 4 years younger than me. Then Holton, Floyd, who married my mother, had Donald, Benny, and Donna Faye. And that's a total of 10. So his, hers, and ours in a 2-bedroom house, which we had to make the kitchen into a bedroom, where 5 of us guys were in that. And mom and dad, stepdad, took the front bedroom. And then we had a little house in the back, which was a kitchen and sometimes a bedroom too. So we had 5 girls and 5 boys in a bedroom, mom, dad, and then a kitchen in the back, which I think my grandpa built. So, and after everybody moved out, Yetta and I sold a place we had in Whiteman, and we lived there for a year or so.
Yes.
And I'm thinking, how in the world, there's maybe 900 square feet.
Yeah, maybe.
With 12 of us in there. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
But I wouldn't trade that at this point.
No.
I know the Lord, as you said, there's a reason. The Lord put me in that family. I needed to be in that family because Dale Grubb's parents, Ken and Ruth, came to the house one day, good, solid people. and they wanted to adopt me.
Mm.
They didn't have any children. They didn't look like they could have any children. And they were good people and to us, well-to-do people in the community at that time. And my mother asked me, "You want to go live with them?" It scared me so bad. I wanted to run and hide.
Yeah.
And I said, "No, I'm just a little boy. How do I make that decision?" That's
How old were you?
maybe 8, 9, or 10 in there someplace.
That is, on one hand, beautiful, and on the other hand, creepy. I don't know how else to say it. I just can't imagine going to a family and saying, "I want to adopt your child." I have no frame of reference.
We were on church together, and we did a lot of things together as a church, very family oriented. Mm-hmm. But they was going to maybe relieve her of some of the 10 children.
Yeah.
Because my older sister went to live with Martin Horton.
Okay.
At age 14. Denny Bengtston went to live with the milkman.
Okay.
So that alleviated. What's the old lady lived in the shoe? She had so many children, she didn't know what to do. And I think my mother felt that stress.
Of course.
Only one income.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a lot. So we were in debt for milk and food and whatever, which for me and my pride as a little boy growing up, it was a shame to me. That's a little boy thing. And but going back to the statement, the Lord put me there for a reason. Mm-hmm. My daughter, our third daughter, Julie, said to me, "Daddy, if you weren't a Christian, what would you be?" I'd be a wealthy womanizer.
Yeah.
That's what I would be.
That's right.
Because money is important to me.
Mm-hmm.
Everything I worked at, the Lord blessed. Not that we're wealthy or anything like that, but hard work, which He honors, and good management, which I love to manage, and having money to be able to get along in life was important to me. It didn't drive me, but I'm a driven man. But it was important that I supplied for our children and family.
For sure.
Then, not being a believer, women are attractive, obviously, and why would I want to get married when I could be single and have any woman I wanted because I'd be wealthy? And so I told her point blank, I'd be a wealthy womanizer if I didn't know the Lord Jesus.
Right.
So thank God that's all never happened. I praise the Lord that I was saved at age 7. So where you grow up and how you grow up, it definitely affects your life, and you know that as good as I do. Yeah. And you have to make decisions about those things, whether they were deprivations or sinfulness or whatever you're involved in life affects your life, and you're going to go in a certain direction because of it. Yeah.
I don't know if you'll remember this or not, but
this episode of The Havery Show is being brought to you by Heartland Tax and Accounting, 863-385-5020.
Benny told me this years ago. When my family moved in over here, your mom told your kids, you kids, don't play with those kids from New York. Those are Catholic kids. You stay away from them and not play with.
Okay.
Do you remember that?
I don't remember that.
You might have been too old.
Well, but she told me something else, not about the Catholic people that lived over here. She said to me, "Be sure you don't marry a Catholic." Now, there's a reason. It doesn't have anything to do with theology. It has to do with the immoral background that was in Minnesota that she experienced up there.
I see.
Yeah,
I see.
And there's stories back in those days that affected her life.
Yeah.
And that's what she meant. And I never know why I don't marry a Catholic. What's wrong with that? The Kozas who lived here, they were great people. I love them.
Yeah.
Marianne, Marianne says, we used to walk to school together. I don't remember, but she's a neat lady.
Marianne, and was there another daughter and a son, or just Marianne?
I think there was another daughter. Maybe young Marianne was the oldest.
Okay.
But I can't. She had that Italian look, know, and but I can't.
They're a beautiful family.
Yeah.
As I recall, the son, I don't know if his name was Anthony, I can't remember, but they moved here because he had health issues and he needed to be in a warmer climate.
And what I understand is they came down on the train The train stopped at Sebring. He knew nothing about Sebring.
Yeah.
He said, "We're going to live here." Got off the train, brought his people. That's what Marion told me. It just came to town.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, they had the little White House next door, the little frame house.
Okay. So you grew up in this one right over here.
Yes, but in between,
There was a little White House.
frame house.
I couldn't remember.
So fast forward, my mom and dad were driving through Sebring on their way to South Florida somewhere. I don't know why they were, but they were driving through. They were driving down South Commerce. There was a for sale sign out there. So my old man pulled over and was walking around looking at the house. And Mr. Koza came over and said, what do you think? Mr. Koza built the house.
Oh, okay.
The way that I understand it.
Yeah.
He built it for him and his family.
Okay.
But he had a for sale sign because they were living in the. So who knows about Koza? He had a lot of He had a lot of interesting things going on.
Yeah.
But anyway, him and my dad hit it off, both from New York.
Okay.
And my dad shook his hand, $500 deposit, and they bought that house. And they moved in several months later, and then I was born. $15,000.
Wow.
For that house.
You were born here?
Yeah, I was born at Walker.
Oh, were you? Okay.
Yeah, but I've always lived I've never lived more than 3 miles from this spot right here. My mom used to make sandwiches, and Koza would sell them.
Okay.
Here. And she took in ironing, and she did things like that. But and there was a bubble gum machine here, and apparently the story is that when I was about 2 or 3, I knocked it over and broke it. But Mr. Koza had his checkout stand up towards the front, and and do you remember when Ken Wilkinson had it?
No.
Yeah, Ken Wilkinson had the credit bureau here, and you remember Kenny Wilkinson?
Yeah.
Yeah, he had a family. He had a credit bureau here. He was in local government.
Okay. Was there a real estate here ever before?
I don't
remember what happened after Koza's.
Okay. Well, it was Kenny Wilkinson's.
Okay.
And then at one point it was a black funeral home.
Okay.
And that's when I was 10, 11 years old.
I think I remember that.
And I remember living in that house and, looking out and seeing the hearse out here. And it was just creepy having a funeral home here. It was creepy. And then Dan and Marsha Wilson had it. And it was a daycare center for a while.
I think I remember that.
And then it was a training center for the supervisor of elections. Jimmy Whitehouse did that over here. And it was the White Houses. And then I have it.
Yeah.
And it's being slated for the wrecking ball here before long. But a lot of good memories here in Sebring.
Yeah.
No place else I would have rather grown up than right here.
Me too.
Me either.
That's the way we feel.
Yeah.
Exactly the same. I love Highlands County. I love Sebring. And if you ask me anywhere I'd want to live, it just would be here. Or rather, I'd be living in Blue Ridge.
Yeah.
I mean, there's beautiful places on earth.
Oh, sure there are.
Incredible.
Yeah.
But this is home.
That's right. And there is truly no place like home.
It's
That's right.
home to me, too.
Yeah. And sometimes you got to get away to understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't appreciate what you got until it's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is true, too. That's really true.
I'm going to ask you both for parting words, but yet I'm going to give you the last word. So, closing thoughts. Is there anything you would like to say to the people who are listening and watching today?
Well, as you know, a personal relationship to the Lord Jesus is so important in my life. I couldn't ever change that. And as a little boy, growing up on Magnolia and not having a daddy, there was a day when I decided that our Heavenly Father, the Creator of the world, who revealed Himself in His Son, would be my daddy. I chose that. I chose Him. And that means I can go to Him and talk to Him about anything, anytime, anywhere. And He really responds to our faith. Without faith, it's impossible to please God. So when we do trust Him, it must really get Him excited because we're actually coming to Him with needs, whether I don't know where my glasses are, or what am I going to do with open heart surgery? How am I going to get through this life? And the doctors are good, and I need them, and they've blessed me. But I always go to Him first. I always go to our Heavenly Father. If you tell me what to do, I'll do it. So I had open heart surgery. This doctor's looking me in the face. He said, "You don't know who your father is." This was, years ago. But he had heart problems. And you will take this medicine the rest of your life or you will die. So it's like God's looking me in the face and said, you better take the medicine. So why I trust him, he sends people across my path who either are going to help me or need the Lord, and I can share with them. It doesn't matter if it's a homeless guy or a guy of another culture. God wants us to trust him, and he's been a wonderful, wonderful, attentive father to me anywhere. And I've traveled, been in 18 countries, 15 countries, and pastored in 10 or preached in 10, and had no fear. I ran from the Chinese government once, hid in the mountains. It's another story, because we were there teaching underground pastors, and we had to go because the police were coming. But I wasn't afraid. We just ran up the mountain and hid in the bushes.
Wow.
And the Lord, I had real peace. I wasn't afraid. It worked out. We weren't caught. But and we had 2 great weeks with these adult pastors, men and women, that we taught, and it was great. So I just cling to the Lord with everything that I've got, and I'm going to hold him as long as I can till he comes for me, and we'll be with him, and that's the best I can say. Yeah.
There's a song that we sing at church. All my life you have been faithful. All my life you have been so, so good. And that always makes me cry. Because that's what I see. That's what I see. I think now that probably my life is pretty close to being over. The one thing that I am so grateful for is the husband that he has given me. He's not perfect. Nobody is. But he has cared for me and my children. He has sought the Lord for wisdom for us. He didn't leave me. And it's just about one of the most important things that he's given to me, that God has given to me. And I'm thankful.
It's wonderful. I think you guys both know how much I love you both and how much I appreciate you. And what a wonderful, wonderful influence and wonderful friends that you've been for so many years for me and my family. And I thank you for,
we love
for
you
being
too.
here today.
We love your family. We love your family. I've watched you take Rodney and run in the middle of the egrets.
Oh, yes.
Hundreds of them down at the fairground. I'll never forget that vision. And that probably endeared me to you before I knew you well. There's a daddy playing with his kids and having a ball in the middle of all those birds. And I just appreciate that.
And out of your mouth comes all this music. I don't know where it comes from. So easy, so effortless.
It's just because it's what I've always done. You can teach a monkey to do what I do.
Yeah.
Well,
And to eat.
he didn't teach me that, but I've been blessed through your music.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, that's true.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for serving with us over the years and eating a calzone with Harrison.
Absolutely.
I remember that little dude in the high chair.
Oh, yeah.
You said he's going to eat the whole thing.
Yeah. And he did.
Yeah. That was a treat that day. It was special to me. And yeah, we love you guys.
Yeah. Feelings mutual.
Yeah.
Thanks again.
Yeah.
And we are out.
Our delight.
Just like that.
Our joy. Thank you.
Nothing to it. The Havery Show has been brought to you by Heartland Tax and Accounting, 863-385-5020.